What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and I hope you all are having a fantastic day wherever you are, because in today's video, we're going to be talking about what is without a doubt the most important topic in all of cryptocurrency investing, period. And no, we're not talking about whether or not it's a time to buy or sell Bitcoin or the next greatest altcoin to invest in. Today, we're going to be talking about proper security of your digital assets, making sure you custody your crypto in the right way. I can tell you I've been in crypto for the last 5 years, since back in 2016. And without a doubt, the biggest issue that I see with people when it comes to investing in crypto is that they don't properly manage it. And it's not just a matter of making some money or losing money in the market, but potentially losing it all due to malware or other malicious actors on the web who are out to get your crypto. So in order to do that, I want to spend some time today in today's sponsored review to take a look over Ledger X. So this is one of the many hardware wallet solutions created by Ledger, which is one of the time-tested names in the cryptocurrency space, and a company that I've utilized for the past couple years for my management of digital assets. Time tested, I've utilized it over the past couple years. They're one of the best in the business. However, I want to specifically talk about what makes Ledger and other solutions like it so secure, as they are known as hardware solutions. And we'll not only dive into how to utilize Ledger X, which is one of the most common models you'll find on the market, but outside of that, we're going to dive into Ledger Live so you can see how it is to interact with a hardware wallet on your desktop computer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the review, guys, and I'm going to show you all how to get everything set up from the get-go. Alrighty, everyone, so to kick things off properly, if you haven't already gotten a Ledger yet, you can check out the link down below in the description where there's a link to go purchase any model you prefer. But for those of you who have purchased a Ledger Nano X or similar model, you should generally expect 3 things when you unbox your set. First, you should expect your hardware device, in this case, Ledger Nano X. Outside of that as well, you should have a couple copies of recovery sheets. These are incredibly important. You do not want to toss these out because these are going to help you to write down clearly your 24-word recovery phrase in order to recover your crypto wallet in case you lose your ledger. Okay, so you want to make sure, again, as we'll talk about later on, write down these and keep them in a safe place. The third thing you should have is the USB connector here for your Ledger device. This is going to help you actually connect to your desktop computer, okay? So now that we've got all this established here, we're going to go ahead and dive in towards a little bit of the setup. So in order to get started, we're going to go ahead and pull up ledger.com/start. There's a link down below in the description in case you want to access this page. And it's going to help you to see the 4 simple steps in order to set up your Ledger wallet. Really, we're only going to be focusing on 2 today because that's really all that's necessary in order to get started with your account. So first off, we're going to go to download Ledger Live and start setting up the device. Now, in order to find this, you can come here to Apps and Services and click on Ledger Live. Download the app, and you can download the desktop or mobile version depending on how you want to go about doing it. Today, though, we're going to be talking about the desktop version that can be used on Mac OS or Windows. So now that we've got Ledger Live set up on our computer, it's time to actually set up our Ledger device. First off, if you have the Ledger Nano X, you're going to want to pull it out so we can reveal the open port so we can begin plugging in the cable here. Once that snaps in, we're going to go ahead and plug in the USB port into our computer. Now bear in mind again that when you plug this in, if it's recognized by your computer, you should hear a slight noise, usually from your operating system, to know that the USB has been picked up. But once that's plugged in, we can begin the setup process for our Ledger X through Ledger Live. Alrighty, everyone, so now that we have Ledger Live up on our computer and our Ledger device plugged in, we're going to go ahead and click the Get Started button within the Ledger Live app. Now, the first thing that they're going to ask you to complete is to agree to the terms of use and the privacy policy. You're welcome to dive into it as much as you'd like, but it's a pretty standard set of terms and conditions with utilizing the software. The major thing, though, is you're going to have to check off 2 boxes. One of them vouching that in this case, you have to maintain your own recovery phrase. That is the gatekeeper to accessing your crypto, and that Ledger and no other entity will be able to help you recover that crypto. We'll talk about why that is later on and the importance of keeping your recovery phrase safe. And outside of that as well, just agreeing to the terms and use. That's the second check mark. Now, once you've agreed to those and you move on to the next screen, you're going to be given an option to choose which Ledger device you're connecting. This will, again, depend on which one you've purchased. You might have the Ledger Blue, the Ledger Nano S, or the Ledger Nano X, which happens to be the one we're utilizing today. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. Now, from here, there's going to be given you're going to be given two options generally about whether or not you want to connect an existing device or set up a new one. And obviously today we're going to be setting up the new device. So go ahead and click on that card. And then from there, we're going to be given a couple of different steps. Now, the Ledger software is going to tell you that this is going to take about 30 minutes, and give or take, it could. It depends on your speed, but this is something, and why they say to put aside 30 minutes is not something you want to rush. This is setting up the foundation, a secure foundation for your cryptocurrencies. We're going to do a couple major things. We're going to first make sure to set up our PIN code. Make this a code that you have on the back of your mind. You'll easily be able to remember it. It might be something that's familiar to you, but try not to use something that you may use on other devices, right? Try to use a unique PIN code that's only something you will remember and no one else would be able to break into. This is going to basically secure your hardware device on a physical basis so that if someone were to gain access to your ledger, they would need to know that PIN code in order to get in and start accessing and signing transactions. So storing your ledger in a safe place is one thing, having a secure PIN code is just as more important. And one thing, just for some context as well, as you're setting this PIN code, is it will take some time. What's really nice is that after there's enough attempts at trying to break your PIN code, maybe from a malicious actor who got access to it, what's really nice is that the device will actually prevent any further attempts at accessing those funds and can only be recovered through what we're going to talk about now, which is your recovery phrase. Think of your recovery phrase, as I mentioned earlier, like the ultimate password to your funds. It's a mixture of 24 random words that basically service as the gatekeeper or the access to your crypto. So that if you, for example, lose your Ledger device or you get locked out of it, maybe typing the wrong PIN code, there's no worries. So long as you have these 24 random words, you will be able to access your crypto. Now, a lot of people ask, why is it that, you have these 24 random words? And it actually has to do with the sheer fact with the combination of words that are available, and of course having 24 of them in a unique random order, you have near unlimited possibilities of what kind of combinations you can get. This prevents people from not only accessing your funds, but is the backbone and security framework around why crypto is so secure and trustless. So it's really cool. But again, I want to emphasize here, you have to write down your 24-word recovery phrase. Now, one thing I do want to advise is that you can utilize the existing recovery phrase sheets, and I'll go ahead and wait for my camera to adjust here. As you can see, the recovery phrase sheet, there's a couple of these that will come most likely in any given ledger device that you order, but you can also write them down on a piece of paper, so long as you have it in a secure place. Some people go above and beyond in the sense of security, and they'll write it down on a piece of paper, and they'll rip it into a couple parts and store them in different areas. It really depends on how high you want to go in regards to security, but just make sure you'll know how to piece that back together or access it in a safe place that only you know about. That's the key thing here. And make sure that you don't type it on a malicious website or any other kind of platform. No one should be requesting you, nor would Ledger ask for your recovery phrase. That's something for you to maintain and you only, especially to maintain it offline. Okay? So, once we've set up our PIN code, once you set up the recovery phrase, as you follow the on-screen instructions of your Ledger device, which will help you to do this, after that, we're going to go on towards connecting our device. And in this case, we're obviously working with the Ledger X Nano. Now, when you're connecting your device, it's just simply going to ask you to press both buttons, as we talked about, the one here on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. Press them at the same time to authenticate the device, and you should be notified on screen if you have an authentic Ledger with a proper identity. It can be verified, or if it's a malicious device, if it's something sold from some kind of reseller or some individual who might have tampered with it. So anyways, once we've done that, our device should be connected to Ledger Live, and we should be able to actually start managing installing software onto our ledger, so we'll be able to store assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, or our favorite altcoins, as well as being able to access various services such as exchanging, etc. So let's go ahead and dive into the Ledger Live app to see it in action. Alrighty everyone, so now that we're inside the Ledger Live app and we've got our Ledger Nano X connected to our computer, we're gonna go ahead and actually dive into the first step you're gonna need to do, which is installing the actual software required in order to store these cryptocurrencies. As you can see, I've got a variety of the big players like Bitcoin and Ethereum, Cardano and Solana installed, and it's really simple. It's right here within the Ledger Live app. Now I'm just going to go ahead and showcase here by clicking the install button. We can install Binance Smart Chain or BNB, for example. And for a lot of these coins, they go really quick. Some of them are more heavier than others, but they should be downloaded and installed in a relatively short fashion. But let's say, for example, that I wanted to go ahead and add an account. I want to go ahead and deposit some cryptocurrency assets into my Ledger device. If I go here and click the Add Bitcoin Account button, it's going to go ahead and pick up the device here. And along with that as well, it's going to ask me to open the application on my device by, as per usual, pressing both of the buttons. It says Bitcoin is ready, so that means we have approved and signed the actual transaction here from our device. It's going to synchronize it here. You can see here that it's picking up that we have the capabilities for Bitcoin accounts. Once it's done synchronizing here in just a moment, we should be able to continue onward and add some accounts. All right, cool. So we've already done it. So once we click done here, we've actually generated 2 new addresses for Bitcoin. Generally speaking, you're going to be using a native SegWit address here. But once we click on this, we can go ahead and hit the receive button. Now, when I press on this, click continue, it's going to, again, make me confirm on my device. Once I've done that, it's going to print out the address here. This is my Bitcoin receiving address. Now, any funds that I send to this address, right, will be stored within my ledger, technically speaking, right? They're basically the overall private key or the recovery phrase. It's tied to this address, right? Any funds I send here, I'm gonna need to have that recovery phrase written down in a safe place, because if I lose my Ledger device, or if someone gets access to it, right, and they try to attempt the PIN code and they fail and the device locks up, we need to be able to still access that recovery phrase, right? So again, really important stuff here. Again, this is your overall receiving address where you can send funds to it. I can go ahead and on the device as well, it's important to note is that it's going to ask us to verify if it matches. So I'll go ahead and read over it. It's always good generally to check like the first 3 or 5 letters and numbers for each of the addresses, as well as the last 3 or 5. And it looks like for mine, it matches up. Go ahead and confirm it. We're just gonna go to the right-hand side, press the right button, approve it, and the address is ready to go. So what's really cool is if you wanted to deposit crypto that you maybe bought off Coinbase or another major exchange, you can send it there. Just make sure that it's over the actual Bitcoin network. That's a big mistake people make. And the exchanges should help guide you through that. Now, one other thing as well is that Ledger actually allows you to buy crypto as well. So you can buy it through their integrated partner Coinify. And we could buy Bitcoin directly from here with a debit card, right? So there's a lot of ways to actually streamline interacting with crypto entirely within Ledger, which is pretty awesome. So you may not need to go set up an exchange account. You can just simply buy it right here through Ledger Live, which almost in a sense encompasses and builds an entire home for your assets. Now, when you get down the rabbit hole of Ledger and really start to, discover what's possible, you can not only come over here to the Discover tab, where there's all types of different applications to visualize your portfolio and access certain services. But one big thing that's really awesome is their swap tool. Now, the swap tool here will allow me to actually swap from one native asset on my Ledger device towards another. And it's a really, really streamlined system. Again, very similar, again, to the ability to buy with a debit card or purchase crypto, again, all within the device. Now, the last thing I want to showcase here within our Ledger device is the portfolio. All right, again, we've been navigating through the sidebar here, and this is going to give us a nice visualization of our overall balance. Now, of course, I've gotten these fields at the bottom blocked out in this case for my own privacy, but overall, this is the overall kind of way you can view all of your assets that you hold. It gives you a nice chart and visualization of what you really own. And you can also toggle this eye icon up here if you want to showcase the balance or not. I have it hidden in this case again because I'd rather show you guys the real Ledger account that I have, right? The real Ledger device without exposing, in this case, the actual address, right? It's good to keep that stuff private. Now, if someone knows your receiving addresses, that's not a big problem, right? It's actually good in some cases if you're looking to receive money from someone or if you're sending money from an exchange account. But again, when it comes to that recovery phrase, that's the ultimatum here. The Ledger device is phenomenal. It is the absolute way where you generate a secure seed phrase or recovery phrase. This is, again, that thing that's going to give you full access to your funds. It does it in a localized way and makes sure that signing of transactions, whether you're sending funds to a friend or family member or you're sending it to an exchange account, is done by you and you only. but maintaining that recovery phrase is the most important step here with your Ledger device. Now, if you have any issues along the way within the tutorial where we talked today, guys, if you ran into any problems, feel free to check out the other additional documentation we have linked down below in the description. There's a great frequently asked question documentation from Ledger, but I can tell you all, and I hope it proves it here, I'm a big fan of Ledger as a platform. I think that they've built a great hardware solution, and I think it's a great place to get started if you're really looking at putting a sizable amount of money into investing in crypto long term, especially if you have that long-term mindset. All right, guys, thank you so much for staying tuned for the entire video. If you like this one, consider dropping a like, consider subscribing, and hitting the bell icon if you'd like to see more content like this. And feel free to check out all the documentation down below to learn more about Ledger and get started with hardware wallets today. Thanks so much, everyone.